replay. It's so nice to be here. I am Claire Innes and I am the founder of the Fertility Mentor. And I am absolutely delighted to be here. Please do chat along as we do this session. Ask questions, agree, disagree, get stuck in and use the comments to let me know your thoughts, please. So I know this topic, body fat, BMI, fertility, it can bring up a lot of feelings. For some of you, it's frustration, and for others, it's sadness or even anger. So maybe you've been told bluntly, just lose weight and come back. Off you go and lose some weight, and I'll see you in 3 months' time at a doctor's office or an IVF appointment. Maybe this has happened to you, and at the same time, you've watched women much heavier than you conceive easily or even accidentally, while you're left wondering, why not me? This is pish, this is rubbish. Maybe you've tried everything, counting calories, cutting carbs, fasting, keto, juice cleanses, 10,000 step challenges, but you just found yourself exhausted, hormonal, starving, and stuck. So this can be quite a difficult topic to kind of go into, but I just want you to know that I see you and I know that heartbreak very well. It's I don't know that just as a practitioner, but as a woman who's had her own battles with body image, hormonal chaos, misinformation. And I used to believe that less was more. That if I just ate cleaner, or if I cut out all fats, or if I would be able to fix my body. I've actually had quite poor relationships with food in the past that are for another time, and I certainly don't want to trigger anyone here by going into them. But I didn't understand that fat, dietary fat, is essential for hormone production, especially estrogen and progesterone. Then I swung the other way with high fats, low carb, thinking keto would solve everything. And then obviously I ended up with terrible bad breath, terrible flatulence, just knackered all the time. Cycles went missing, thyroid slowing down. So at the outset, I'd like to give the same disclosure that I always give everyone when I'm talking about BMI, as an ex-personal trainer, as a nutritionist. It's an outdated measure that only takes weight into account, not body composition. However, in a fertility context, this is what the NHS uses, and this is what the fertility clinics use. So this is why I'm going to refer to it here. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And I say this with total respect and zero judgment. Most traditional diets are not designed for female fertility. They ignore your hormones, your stress levels, they just look at a straight calorie deficit. They ignore the energy demands of ovulation and conception. And today I'm looking to really change that for you. I'm looking to educate you on why these conversations happen and give you information on how you can make it work in your favor. I'm going to help you understand why body fat affects your fertility, which hormones are most involved, and most importantly, how to work with your body and not against it. I'll also be giving you my top 5 tips on managing BMI in a fertility supportive way, plus an invite to my free fertility metabolic reset. And this is where we're going to go even deeper into this together. So let's get started. Why do doctors talk about BMI? It's the elephant in the room, isn't it? It is not a perfect measure. It doesn't account for muscle, genetics, body composition. It literally only accounts for your weight on the scale and your height. But the reason clinics use it is that it's a quick indicator of metabolic health and hormone balance. And those two things have a massive impact on fertility outcomes. Research is consistently showing us that both too low and too high body fat percentages can disrupt ovulation, implantation, and early pregnancy development. But instead of saying lose weight, come back, lose some weight, what we should be asking is, how can we get your hormones working together? And how can we minimize inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and stabilize estrogen so your body feels safe to conceive? And that's the shift that we're going to make. This is what we're going to be talking about here. So this is what I call the hormonal truth about body fat and fertility. So I'm going to break down the kind of key players here. Number one is estrogen. We've all heard of estrogen. If you are on a fertility journey, you probably think about estrogen every day. Estrogen is not just produced in your ovaries, it's also produced in fat cells. So fat tissue, fat tissue, is not just storage, it is active. Okay, so adipose fat cells produce estrogen via an enzyme called aromatase. So when body fat is higher, there is more estrogen circulating. This can disrupt and let me put my teeth in for this, hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis, essentially confusing the brain cells that drive ovulation. And that can throw off your ovulation cycle, delay or even block your LH surge, that's your luteinizing hormone, and it can create what's often called estrogen dominance. So over time, this imbalance can lead to menstrual irregularities, poor ovulation, higher risk of conditions like PCOS or endometriosis. That means low progesterone, short luteal phases, PMS, sore boobs, mood swings, and difficulty conceiving. And on the flip side, of course, if body fat is too low, often from over dieting or over exercising, estrogen drops too much and ovulation can stop altogether. So it's not about being smaller, it's not about being lighter, it's about being more hormonally balanced. Okay? Insulin is the next one I want to talk about. So it's another huge piece of the fertility puzzle. When we are carrying extra body fat, especially around the middle, the cells can become resistant to insulin. And that means that your body has to produce more and more of it to get glucose into your cells. High insulin levels then tell your ovaries to stop producing androgens, that's our male hormones. You've probably heard of testosterone, and that in itself can disrupt ovulation. Insulin resistance is also linked to poorer egg quality and implantation rates, which is why managing blood sugar balance through nutrition is vital for fertility. And I can't stress enough, this is not only relevant if you are type 2 diabetic, if you have an insulin, if you have a diagnosis of, say, PCOS or insulin resistance. This applies to everyone. We can all optimize our blood sugar through nutrition, and that is going to help with our fertility. Okay. The next hormone I want to talk about is leptin. Leptin is our body's I'm full hormone, and that's produced by the fat cells. When our body fat is healthy, leptin signals to our brain, I've had enough energy, I'm fine, I don't need any more. But with higher body fat, our brain can become resistant to leptin. And that means that it's no longer recognizing, okay, I've had enough, I'm full, I'm stuffed, the energy stores are sufficient. That leads to appetite dysregulation and, more importantly, a signal to your reproductive system that now isn't a safe time to conceive. So again, it's always coming back to this balance, not deprivation. Another thing I want to touch on is pregnancy loss and inflammation. Excess fat tissue releases inflammatory molecules like TNF alpha and interleukin 6. These can increase oxidative stress in the ovaries, and that, of course, can impact egg quality and implantation. They also raise the risk of early pregnancy loss, even when conception occurs. Now, this doesn't mean that if you're above a certain BMI, you can't get pregnant, or if you're above a certain BMI, if you fall pregnant, you will lose that baby. Far from it. But it does mean that working towards a metabolically healthier body composition can improve the environment for conception and for pregnancy to thrive. So let me know if you're still with me. Let me know if this is making sense, please. Right, so let's get on to what we can do about it. Here are my top 5 tips for fertility-friendly BMI management. This is where, and hopefully this is coming across, I like to focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. Things that you can do safely, effectively, and with, respect and kindness to your body. So number one is to balance your blood sugar. Whenever you have a meal, say to yourself, where's my protein? Where's my fiber? Where's my healthy fat? That trio is going to slow glucose relief and keep your insulin levels stable. Stable insulin levels means better ovulation, better egg quality. Okay? Number two, of course, is to prioritize protein. Protein is the most under-eaten macronutrient I see in women trying to conceive. And just to give you an example that I see really often, if I ask, quite often, if I'll say to someone, right, off you go and have some more protein, I'll see things in their food diary. Like a really common one is breaded chicken breast. So you're thinking, okay, chicken, perfect, that's protein. But because that's breaded, very often the bread and the fats that have been used to kind of bring all of that together is meaning that it's not as protein dense as you would think. So when I talk about protein, I'm talking about lean whole protein sources. Okay. So we're looking for roughly 1.6 grams per kilo of your body weight. Protein supports muscles, metabolism, hormone detoxification, and satiety. So protein, when we talk about satiety, protein keeps us fuller for longer. Have you ever heard the thing that I used to talk about it a lot when we were teenagers, that if you go for a McDonald's, it makes you hungry? McDonald's chips, you'll be starving an hour later. That's because you're crashing. Hormones, sorry, not hormones, protein gives us a slower increase in terms of fullness and a slower fall. So it keeps us fuller for longer, which is good news when we come to think about a calorie deficit. But a calorie deficit should always be practiced alongside hormone regulation. Okay, so it's two things that complement each other. But from my experience working with women all over the Western world, protein is the most under-eaten macronutrient, and really understanding what does and what doesn't count as a protein or contribute towards your protein target is one of the best things that you can do for your fertility. Okay, so number three is to move for metabolism, not punishment. Exercise should not wreck your adrenals. Okay, so if you've been told to go off and lose weight, like many of you will have, the first thing a lot of people do will sign up for like a body attack class, a HIIT class, and they're great fun and they are really, really good for calorie burn. But where they're not optimal is, again, it's just this hormone balance, is their stress levels. I prefer my clients to focus on strength training so that they're building that muscle. They're preparing their body for pregnancy, a nice strong back, keeping our hips nice and flexible, brisk walking, gentle cardio, and mobility work. So that's enough to support insulin sensitivity and muscle maintenance, but not stress the body out. Okay, too much high intensity work can suppress ovulation. What we want is to get our body burning calories but growing muscle, and we want to be strong through our pregnancy. We don't want to be like all hustled over. So we want to stand up straight. We want a nice healthy body during our pregnancy. Number four is to optimize sleep and stress. Now, cortisol and insulin dance together. When cortisol's high, your body clings to fat and shuts down anything it thinks it doesn't need. So simple habits like having a process to wind down in the evening, like no screens after a certain time, taking some magnesium, breath work, breathing, even reading a book. When you're doing your skincare at night, just kind of doing it in a nice, kind of relaxing way, the nice smells signaling to your brain, okay, we're going to be resting soon. This is our wind down. It's not sensible for us to expect that we sit on Instagram or TikTok until 11, half 11 at night, and then we can just roll over and have a good night's sleep. We need to be proactive about it. We need to put the steps in place. And then number five is to rewire your mindset around food. And this might sound a little bit airy-fairy, but I'm going to say it right now. You cannot hate your body into hormone balance. You can't hate your body pregnant, okay? What we start in the fertility metabolic research is to help you rebuild trust with food. Remove that guilt and reconnect with your hunger and your fullness cues again. Loving yourself, loving your body that is going to conceive and carry this baby. So I hope you're still with me so far. I know that I have, as usual, battered through A lot of information in quite a short amount of time. Next, I'm going to give you an invitation to the Fertility Metabolic Research Reset, which is absolutely free. If you've been nodding along, feeling that this is you, then this is your next step. And this is relevant to you whether you would like to lose £5 to support your fertility or 5 stone. The starting place is always the same. On starting the 10th of November, I'm hosting a free 4-day fertility metabolic research, and it's going to change how you see your body and your fertility for good. So each day we're going to dive into one pillar. One day is going to be nutrition, and that's exactly how to build balanced meals for hormonal health. And I'll also be giving lots and lots and lots of examples of what I've seen over the last 10 years, why they don't work, and how small changes can make them better. We're also going to be touching on things like supplement, what actually moves that needle for metabolic fertility and general fertility as well. We're also going to be touching on supplements that can help if you're not ovulating and the kind of tests that you should be asking for, how to track that. I'm also, quite frankly, going to be talking about what's an absolute waste of your money and not worth your time in terms of supplements. We'll be talking about movement, practical, sustainable routines for your hormone type. And then we're going to be talking about mindset and psychology, which is always the missing piece. Why emotional eating, guilt, and perfectionism keep you where you are. So you'll get 2 seminars every day, accountability tasks, community support, live Q&As with myself. And it's for you if you have ever thought any of the following. I'm doing everything right. Why is this not working? I've been told to lose weight, but no one has shown me how safely. I want to feel confident walking into my next appointment, knowing I've optimized my body for pregnancy. So I'm going to give you an example of that right now. One of my most recent clients has just started. We've talked about calories, all of that fun stuff, and now we're looking into her macronutrient level. This particular client, and this is not going to be true of everyone, but this particular client was consuming high fat dairy with every meal. Okay, but she was consuming lots and lots of it, so much so that her actual calorie intake was higher than it should have been, but she wasn't actually consuming much actual volume of food. So we had a conversation with her about where she is now, where she's looking to be, and how we can optimize her macronutrients. Now, for some, that will mean adding healthy fats back in. And actually, for her, it will mean that eventually. But what we're going to do first is make sure she's getting enough protein, enough fiber. So this lady has been reading online, always go for the highest fat dairy option. That's good for fertility. But there's no context with statements like that. And that's why I've created this very specific challenge, specific to women who want to reduce their body fat and improve their fertility at the same time. Because I know it can be confusing. It can be very, very, very confusing. So this reset is your foundation. Once you've felt that shift, you'll never go back to punishing diets again. So if you're ready to take that first step, come along and join me. It is completely free. You can sign up in 2 clicks. So you'll go to my website and I will link it below. You'd think I would remember the website by now. So it's thefertilitymentor.org.uk/fertility metabolic research. You'll enter your first name and your email address, and I will give you details on how to join the WhatsApp group. The Zoom invitations will be coming to you shortly, and we will start in earnest on the 10th of November, just in time to make a real change ahead of Christmas, just in time to know that you've taken a bit of that control back and that you're going to start the new year feeling great, feeling just a bit tidier, just feeling good about yourself. Okay? So, what's next? I want you to leave here with this reminder. Your worth is not defined by your BMI, but your body does respond to how it's cared for. So I'm going to say it again. Your worth is not defined by your BMI, but your body does respond to how it's cared for. When you nourish it, balance it, and listen to it, it will respond. You are not broken. You are biologically adaptable. And with the right support, the right science, self compassion, and yes, kick up the arse when you need it, you can absolutely create the conditions for your healthiest and most fertile self. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for trusting me with your story. Please add to the comments, ask the questions. If you agree, if you disagree, get involved, join in. I'm wishing you a fantastic, wonderful, lovely day.